Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're delving into another heartbreaking and chilling case, a story centered around a remarkably strong woman who reached her breaking point in a single, devastating instant, making a life-altering choice that permanently shattered her family's world. This tragedy serves as a stark, sobering reminder of just how critical it is to prioritize mental health, both our own and that of the people we love, and to never hesitate to speak up when life spirals out of control. Our journey takes us to Atlanta, the vibrant and bustling capital of Georgia, a metropolis famous for corporate giants like Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines. On the night of November 6, 2021, around 9 p.m., emergency dispatchers received an urgent call from a terrified resident reporting blood-curdling screams and multiple gunshots ringing out from a neighboring home. Responding officers rushed to the scene in Gwinnett County, one of the area's most culturally diverse communities, and breached the residence. Inside, a horrific sight awaited them. A man and a woman lay motionless on the floor, both deceased. There were no immediate signs of forced entry or robbery, as the home remained completely undisturbed with all personal belongings left intact. Investigators quickly identified the slain couple as Ronell and Kiana Burns. But who could have targeted this married couple, and what sinister motive lay behind such violence? The answers would only emerge by rewinding the tape of the Burns family's past to unravel the true events leading up to this ultimate catastrophe. Kiana was born on September 15, 1977, in St. Louis, Missouri. After graduating from Riverview Gardens High School, she pursued her passion for cosmetology at St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley, determined to pave her own path to financial independence. Driven by an unrelenting desire for success and a taste for the finer things in life, Kiana launched her own beauty salon. Through fierce persistence and over 2 decades of tireless dedication, she expanded her brand into one of the most prominent salon empires across the entire St. Louis metropolitan area. To her loved ones, Kiana was a powerhouse, a devoted mother to 3 children from previous relationships, a fiercely loyal friend, and a supportive pillar for other women in her community. Yet, despite her professional triumphs and magnetic personality, finding an equal partner in her personal life proved challenging. Strong, wealthy, and fiercely ambitious, Kiana seemed to have everything going for her until she crossed paths with Ronell Burns. Ronell, born on May 14, 1975, also hailed from St. Louis, a high school athlete who graduated from the High School of Fashion Industry in 1994. He had once competed for a state basketball championship. Ronell was naturally competitive, highly driven, and possessed an unyielding appetite for success. Like Kiana, he brought 2 children from a former relationship into the picture. When their worlds collided, it felt like a match forged in destiny. 2 accomplished, visionary individuals ready to build a dynamic future together. On September 13, 2012, they officially tied the knot in a lavish ceremony surrounded by an overflowing crowd of supportive family and friends. However, as the honeymoon phase faded, Kiana began to uncover unexpected layers of her new husband's identity. It turned out that from a young age, Ronell had deeply dedicated his life to his faith in Jesus Christ, and he felt a growing, powerful calling to embark on an entirely new path. Dedicated deeply to his faith from an early age, Ronell felt a profound calling to serve others, even strangers he encountered on the streets. He expanded his reach by creating a personal website to offer coaching and preaching. In his messages, Ronell claimed that God had spoken directly to him during his youth, instructing him to guide people through life's trials. He frequently preached that divine intervention ultimately controls human destiny. His online ministry quickly gained momentum, with his video messages attracting a massive and devoted audience across social media. Beyond his spiritual work, Ronell established himself as a financial counselor and licensed insurance agent. He founded a company named Traditional Financial Solutions, driven by the mission to help clients worldwide achieve complete financial freedom. Thanks to his persuasive speeches and charismatic demeanor, his financial endeavors flourished. Kiana stood firmly behind her husband, and together, the couple built an influential online presence. Ronell became widely recognized as a lead coach for 6-Figure Ambitions, a popular digital program tailored for aspiring entrepreneurs. His growing digital footprint included thousands of followers across Instagram and YouTube, where he regularly uploaded motivational content. By blending their business acumen and personal lives, Ronell and Kiana created a powerful brand that resonated with thousands of people. Kiana also became a highly sought-after speaker at business seminars, delivering inspiring talks on success, resilience, and wealth building. Her personal Instagram account commanded thousands of followers, where she shared an intimate look into her luxurious lifestyle, family moments, and daily motivation. In one of their most viral videos, the couple appeared impeccably dressed in high-end designer clothing, speaking directly to their audience about the transformative power of entrepreneurship. They boldly declared that their life's mission was to help others build sustainable businesses, insisting that the era of working tirelessly for someone else was officially over. The Burns family advocated for smart investing, teaching young business owners not to spend their earnings carelessly, but rather to make their money work for them. They closed their presentation with a signature, empowering message. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to become great. The couple never shied away from displaying their wealth. Instead, they proudly showcased their opulent lifestyle to attract new students, clients, and subscribers. However, behind the scenes, it was primarily Kiana who had actually walked the demanding path Ronell so eloquently described. She had put in decades of grueling work to build and operate her successful salon network from the ground up. At the height of their joint coaching venture, Kiana still owned multiple salons, while simultaneously excelling as a top insurance agent. In truth, her well-established enterprises generated the vast majority of the family's real income. Meanwhile, Ronell worked tirelessly to project an aura of absolute success. The couple's social media feeds were filled daily with dynamic photos from fine dining restaurants, tailored suits, and luxury goods. While true wealth often moves in silence, many struggling followers bought into Ronell's smooth promises of achieving effortless financial independence simply by following his blueprint. Capitalizing on people's desire for quick success, Ronell launched the Six-Figure Ambitions brand, using it to continuously grow their public capital and craft the legacy he passionately spoke about in every media appearance. To the outside world, the Burns family appeared to be the absolute picture of unity and prosperity. Friends, relatives, and followers viewed them as an unbreakable power couple. This enviable image remained intact until Ronell proposed a massive change, leaving their beloved hometown of St. Louis to relocate to Atlanta. By this time, the couple was raising a blended family that included 3 shared children, Rhea, Makai, and Ray Haley. To their children, their peers, and thousands of online fans, Ronell and Kiana Burns were the ultimate representation of love, success, and inspiration. The move to Atlanta was far from a peaceful transition. Rather, it was a calculated risk, pushed aggressively by Ronell. Having effectively taken the reins of his wife's business affairs, he was no longer satisfied with her 3 successful beauty salons in St. Louis. Fueling his relentless ambitions, Ronell set his sights on establishing an extensive new salon chain in Atlanta to tap into a broader, wealthier clientele. Kiana was deeply reluctant to abandon her beloved hometown, where her roots and empire were firmly planted. Yet, as she so often did, she ultimately surrendered to her husband's pressure, continuing to play her role in maintaining their flawless public facade. On social media, Kiana painted a picture of absolute luxury and domestic bliss. She posted glamorous photos showing off a high-end Maserati Levante, presented to her as a lavish gift from Ronell, alongside images of her car trunk overflowing with designer Louis Vuitton bags. Each post was dutifully accompanied by glowing captions expressing her deep admiration and gratitude for her husband. Like many influencers, she also filled her Instagram feed with heartwarming moments involving her cherished children and family. However, beneath the polished exterior, the facade began to crumble. Unable to carry the heavy burden of pretense any longer, Kiana finally opened up to her followers, confessing that their family life was far from the paradise it appeared to be. The move to Atlanta had left her feeling utterly isolated in a sprawling, unfamiliar city where she was forced to rebuild her life from scratch. During an emotional Facebook live stream, she candidly shared the immense difficulty she faced in adjusting to a new home, foreign surroundings, and new people. She warned her audience that life changes could shatter one's world overnight, for better or worse, noting that if a person isn't mentally prepared, the weight of it all can tear them apart. Admitting she was navigating a dark, painful chapter, Kiana expressed how much her loyal followers' support meant to her during those increasingly difficult days. To the outside world, news that the power couple was on the verge of divorce came as a stunning shock. The heartfelt confession sent ripples through their online community, forcing Ronell to address the situation in his own live broadcast. Yet, true to form, his tone was detachment masked as a business strategy. He publicly announced that they had quietly agreed to separate 7 months prior. He cold-heartedly declared that he was tired of her, though they planned to remain business partners while finalizing their divorce. Treating the breakdown of his marriage like a corporate restructuring, Ronell explained that they had simply drawn a line down the middle of a piece of paper to divide their assets and business ventures, urging their audience not to mourn or dwell on the dynamic shift. For lifestyle influencers, revealing failure means risking status, credibility, and brand value, the very foundation the Burns family had spent years constructing. But as public figures, their secret could not remain hidden forever. It soon came to light that their opulent lifestyle was entirely an illusion engineered for social media. In his relentless pursuit of fame, popularity, and the appearance of wealth, Ronell had recklessly squandered the fortune Kiana had painstakingly built through her salons. Worse yet, he plunged the family into catastrophic financial ruin, accumulating over $500,000 in bank debt in just a few short years. The toxic combination of isolation in an unfamiliar city and overwhelming financial distress reached a devastating breaking point. On the very eve of the tragedy, Kiana went live one final time to connect with her online community. Vulnerable and exhausted, she asked her supporters to pray for her strength as she struggled without a local support system, all while caring for her children alone. She reflected on their move to Atlanta just 5 or 6 months earlier, warning her audience that without prayer and unwavering faith, life's sudden shifts could pull a person under. Kiana spoke poignantly about the vital need for a loving, supportive circle to help navigate life's darkest moments. She emphasized that when people feel trapped in isolation, they are left alone with their darkest thoughts, leaving them vulnerable to making tragic, irreversible decisions. She added that life changes are rarely smooth sailing, emphasizing how daunting it is to adapt to unfamiliar surroundings and new people without the comforting presence of immediate family and friends. Kiana candidly admitted that she was actively working on her mental health, tormented by the fear that she might not be strong enough to weather the cruel challenges fate had thrown her way. Yet, was the sudden relocation to Atlanta truly the primary catalyst for the family's tragic downfall? In that poignant broadcast, Kiana remained silent about the deepest root of their marital decay: Ronell's relentless infidelities and promiscuous lifestyle, dark realities that had always been carefully scrubbed from their picture-perfect Instagram image. In a heartbreaking twist of irony, Kiana posted another video later that very same night, appearing joyful as she danced around the house with one of her daughters. But just a few short hours later, the unthinkable transpired. A heated argument erupted between Kiana and Ronell. Overwhelmed by unbearable anguish, Kiana grabbed a firearm, fatally shot her husband, and then turned the gun on herself. Authorities were called to the scene after terrified neighbors reported hearing loud, violent screams, followed by several gunshots. When police arrived, a crowd had already gathered outside the home. Initial reports at the preliminary stage of the investigation mistakenly suggested that Ronell Burns had taken his own life. However, upon discovering Kiana's lifeless body in an adjacent room with the weapon still resting in her hands, investigators realized that the tragic sequence of events had been initiated by her. While the tragic motive seemed rooted in a sudden mental break, public speculation surged. Some believed Kiana was driven to an extreme point after uncovering yet another instance of Ronell's betrayal, while others pointed to their crushing debt, accusing Ronell of being a predatory con-man who ultimately ruined her life. Driven to uncover the truth, followers began digging deeply into the couple's past, unearthing damning revelations from Ronell's ex-wife. She revealed that during her own divorce proceedings, she discovered Ronell was a chronic, serial cheater who squandered her finances, refused to maintain steady employment, and ultimately destroyed her credit history. When he met Kiana, she was the ideal target, a wealthy, accomplished businesswoman. Kiana, in turn, was drawn to Ronell's magnetic swagger and supreme confidence, believing his charm combined with her fortune would build an unstoppable empire. Instead, their joint business ventures collapsed one after another, leaving Kiana's salon network as the family's sole financial lifeline. Despite contributing no real income, Ronell aggressively maintained the charade of a master entrepreneur. Together, they successfully hid their crippling financial distress behind a curtain of luxury, continually flexing expensive purchases, fine dining, and curated photos of domestic bliss. To solidify his image, Ronell published constant updates, asserting that every venture he touched turned to gold. The couple even wrapped themselves in religious piety, regularly pairing their posts with biblical scriptures to project the image of devout Christians blessed with endless prosperity. In reality, the high-end cars, lavish vacations, and opulent residence were nothing more than a hollow illusion. Ronell had been working for a controversial marketing and insurance firm that preyed upon low- and middle-income families. Desperate to maintain his status, he even attempted to recruit his own friends and relatives into the scheme. Yet the returns were never enough to sustain his lavish demands. Despite the impending collapse, the couple kept convincing the world of their massive success, trapped in an escalating web of vanity, deceit, and arrogance, until the truth finally caught up with them in the most horrifying way possible. Their arrogance and hunger for prestige reached such delusional heights that they even produced a reality-style web series titled Meet the Burns. Every dollar generated was immediately squandered on a lavish, superficial lifestyle designed to project a status they had never truly earned. This uncontrollable profligacy inevitably led them straight to financial ruin, forcing Kiana and Ronell Burns to file for official bankruptcy on December 19, 2019. The couple was compelled to liquidate assets to satisfy creditors, yet even while facing financial collapse behind closed doors, they maintained their public facade. On social media, they continued to play the roles of a blissfully happy, highly successful power couple. As the truth became increasingly difficult to conceal in St. Louis, Ronell pushed for a fresh start, deciding the family should relocate to a bigger city where he could find a new pool of unsuspecting targets to scam with impunity. Moving to Atlanta proved to be another disastrous, ill-fated mistake. St. Louis had been home to Kiana's thriving beauty salon network, the family's sole remaining source of real income. Regrettably, Kiana yielded to her husband's demands once again and agreed to the move. Atlanta offered no salvation. Isolated in an unfamiliar city, Kiana struggled to adapt while carrying the crushing weight of knowing her husband had repeatedly betrayed her. Exhausted from years of silence, the couple agreed to part ways. However, when Ronell officially filed for divorce on October 10, 2021, he callously cited his wife's infidelity as the official cause, a hypocritical move that left Kiana utterly devastated. Desperate to protect his carefully crafted public persona, Ronell concealed the true nature of their split from friends, family, and his online followers. 10 days later, on October 20th, Kiana went live on social media to address her audience. The radiant smile that once defined her online presence was replaced by an expression of deep concern and heartbreak. After his first divorce, Ronell, an opportunistic con artist, had targeted the wealthy and successful Kiana. Rebranding himself as a devout spiritual guru, he masqueraded as a changed, reliable man. In truth, he had never changed at all, continually exploiting his wife's trust and fortune to fuel his fantasy of being an elite mogul. What had once seemed like a perfect match was finally dead. The horrific climax unfolded on the night of November 6, 2021, leading into the early hours of November 9. In their Sandy Springs home, 44-year-old Kiana Burns fatally shot her 46-year-old husband, Ronell Burns, before turning the weapon on herself. The Sandy Springs Police Department confirmed that no other individuals were injured in the home at the time of the incident, and there was no prior record of domestic violence calls at their Atlanta address. Yet, the tragedy left a staggering toll in its wake. 8 children from their combined blended family were suddenly orphaned, forced to navigate the world without their parents. This devastating outcome occurred just weeks after Kiana had publicly requested prayers on Facebook, leaving the public to speculate about the exact catalysts that drove such a strong-willed, resilient woman to a breaking point. While it is impossible to fully comprehend the dark corners of severe depression and deteriorating mental health, it is equally painful to understand how so many children were left behind to grieve this unimaginable loss alone. News of the tragic murder-suicide sent shockwaves across the country, sweeping through their vast network of friends, business associates, and social media followers. Tributes poured in from around the globe, though posts from those closest to the couple revealed that even their tightest inner circle had been completely blind to the reality behind closed doors. To those who saw through the charade, Ronell Burns was the textbook definition of a man driven by deep-seated insecurity, someone who felt a compulsive need to flaunt wealth and status to mask his own inadequacies. Deluded by his own ego, he confused his inflated sense of self-importance with true value, orchestrating grand illusions that ultimately destroyed the lives of hard-working, successful women. Lacking integrity and pride, he was simply an ordinary scam artist who dragged his partners down with him, exploiting their desire for love and partnership with empty promises of a fairy tale future. As for their followers, social media influencers rarely share the full, unvarnished truth with strangers. They build a stunning, flawless image on the front page, but behind that glossy cover lies a hidden reality. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please subscribe to the channel as we will continue to explore more gripping stories ahead.